Hello guys, my name is Ludmila and this is my first video on YouTube with such a special subject matter. What I'm going to achieve with all the ideas I have is to let you get to know Russia and Russian people a little bit more, to break the stereotypes, as well as to let you realize that our country is not so scary as people all around the world might assume. About myself first. I am 21 years old and I live in Rostov-on-Don. It's a very large city in the south of Russia, not so far from the both capitals like Siberia, for example, but far enough to feel the difference. It's well known that Russia is often being associated with Moscow, but it's totally wrong to do that because modern Moscow doesn't reflect the real situation in the country. It's probably the biggest and the richest city in the country, but less Russian anyway. We even have a kind of joke on this topic. We say Moscow and another Russia, or Moscow and the rest of Russia. While preparing this video, I decided to overview some political and economic events in Russia which have been considered in a kind of inappropriate way, to clear up some details about it and what we Russians think about these events. Very first point, which I find very interesting, is the common recognition of the Crimea being annexed. I would say that it was not annexed, it was returned. According to the history, the peninsula was a part of the Russian Republic in the Soviet Union till 1854 and became a part of Ukraine in a kind of illegitimate way. But it was returned not because of the need of the historic justice, no. There was an objective necessity to do that. Russia has a very significant naval base in Sevastopol, as well as other strategic objects which determine who rules the Black Sea area. And now imagine, we are the biggest country in the world, which always had a very special, independent attitude and position. Having so big, rich territories, to survive and not to lose your own identity was and is a hard task for a country like Russia. The idea of the brotherhood of nations was supported throughout the last decades. Russia supported other countries for their support in us, but they were always Ukrainian politicians who decided to turn to Europe and to the States, which in fact do not need them. Another interesting point here is the activity of NATO, because it's well known that the NATO has never hidden why they assigned the nuclear weapon in the East Europe, and they also wanted to assign the same weapon in the Crimea. And from this point of view, the return of the Crimea was like a political reaction, like a political decision to defend our national interests rather than an act of aggression. Following the situation with the Ukrainian crisis, another question is what is really happening in the East Ukraine. Anyway, we had civil war next to the frontiers, with a lot of casualties and victims on both sides. I don't want to protect any side, but let us speak about some statistics. Firstly, Russia accepted about 336,000 refugees from the region, not Europe or the western part of the country. Secondly, Russia was delivering a huge amount of the humanitarian aid to this region because of the deplorable conditions casualties and victims. And thirdly, the so-called terrorists always kept the agreements of Minsk, while the Ukrainian army always broke the ceasefire. And also from this point of view, are we allowed to call these people terrorists, whereas the real threat comes from the south now? Or maybe they are just those people who wanted to stay with Russia while another side of this country continued to make debts it will be never able to repay. When I was in Germany, some Europeans were always wondering why a Ukrainian girl who was in our group did Russian so well. It was a pity because nobody has known that almost everybody in East Ukraine is Russian speaking. The third and the last factor for today is what we Russians think about Putin. It's also well known that his ratings have recently improved in the last month, and that about 74% would vote for him again, while about 59% trust him, according to the data of the Levada Center. I would like to say politically correct and just suggest some reasons to explain this kind of attitude to our president. Firstly, like in each country, there is a huge amount of work done by the media to improve the ratings and the reputation of some political leaders in the country, where the role of some events is being accentuated and of others just concealed. The return of the Crimea and with its social and historic significance, as well as the anti-Russian sanctions, they just activated the instinct of self-preservation and made our people support Putin. And even if they were and they are different faults and mistakes from his side and from the side of other politicians, they are being referred to these politicians or just to the government rather than to Putin, who rules the country but cannot manage everything. I know people who adore people and follow this good work in political marketing. I also know those who prefer to stay rather skeptic than inspired, but the fact is we don't have so many choices to choose from now, and Putin is our president. How it will be in the future, time will show. Anyway, there is a piece of negativism and irresponsibility in the mentality of Russian people. But this topic I would like to overview in the next video. In one of the next videos, please follow my account, like my video if you really enjoyed it, and stay with me. And I will tell you what you don't know about Russia and Russian. Thank you.